Hi, my name is David, and I have nobody in my life to talk about music to, and welcome to my struggle to find a good camera angle for these videos. But despite that, I am still going to talk about the new Gorillaz album, The Now Now. So I was kind of shocked that this album had such a quick turnaround from their last album. I think Humanz came out maybe in April of last year, something like that. It's been less than 2 years since we got an album, and it was a much bigger gap between Plastic Beach and Humanz, so I just assumed it'd be another long hiatus or wait till a new album. But I'm really happy I was wrong. I'm really happy I was wrong, because Humanz was kind of a mess for me. I, like many others, were just really disappointed by the album. I got into full hype mode, which really didn't help. I bought that deluxe version with a book. I actually really liked the singles that came out when the album was first dropping, and I was just really pumped for it. But the album was disappointing in just so many ways. For one, it was just so long. If you look at the deluxe version, it's incredibly bloated and has so much. Not only that, but every song was a feature. There was only 1 or 2 songs that was just Gorillaz, just Damon Albarn and Jamie, that was it. And I was incredibly disappointed by that, because it felt like they were missing their own voice in the album. Not only that, it gave us one of the worst songs ever put to a Gorillaz album, or maybe just to an album just put out there into the world. And that is the song Sex Murder Party. This song is so bad. I still go back to it and think, why would anyone put this on any album? I could go on for a while on why I don't like that song and why I don't like Humanz, but this makes The Now Now even more refreshing, because Gone is this bombastic, loud house sound that was defined by Humanz, this end-of-the-world party, and now this album is a much more introspective, a lot more stripped down, and you can tell just by looking at the guest list on this album. There's only 3 other artists besides Damon on here, and I love it. I think it's a much more patient and slower album because of it. Now, starting off with the first track, Humility, featuring George Benson, it feels like almost a response to Humanz directly, because it's, Damon talks about him getting back on track. Gone is this heavy sound from the last album. It's this much more summer, easy breezy summer jam. They got George Benson on the guitar just rocking out. It's a pretty good track. I'm not crazy about it, but I also don't really love it. It starts the album off really well, and it never really returns to the high that it introduces, but I think it's a way of Damon Albarn just being like, hey, listen, I get it. I get what you guys were talking about on the last one. Here's something a bit newer. Now, that saying, he still goes into the track Hollywood soon, that features Snoop as well as Jamie Principle. I think that's his name. This is the same guy from Sex Murder Party, and you could probably tell I didn't like this song at all. It feels really out of place, for one, on this album. It's got more of this future funk sound, which is fine. I think the instrumental has grown on me a little bit, but again, Jamie Principle's vocal delivery and lyrics are corny, they're cliche, and they're just not great. It's just not good. That's the words that come out of my mouth. It's not good. The Snoop feature is fine, but it is a Snoop feature in 2018. What saves it is, what saves a lot of Gorillaz songs, and that's Damon Albarn's melancholy voice that cuts through into the chorus. I liked that, but for the most part, I was very happy when this track ended, and I tend to skip it on repeat listens. Thankfully, after this track, and this is track 3, the album is fantastic. I think the direction it goes into is a lot more cohesive and a lot more streamlined. Now, this album was written on the road. Albarn has talked about writing most of this album during the Humanz tour, and you could tell by even some of the names of the songs. The song like Idaho, Lake Zurich, Kansas, although I know some of those songs weren't directly written about those areas, you could tell he was influenced while traveling through it. And even though that idea and concept of basing the themes of your music on where you're traveling isn't particularly new or exciting, the sound that it brings to the album is like a dreary summer road trip, I guess. At least that's what I was getting from it, because it does have these summer tones, but it's so melancholy and stripped that you can't, it's not like you're enjoying it. No, you're still sad about it. In that way, this album feels more authentic. It feels more singular. You know, you could tell because 2D is the only person on the album, which is basically just Damon Albarn. There aren't other voices, it's just his. And I think that sounds more human than Humanz was. I think I'm sounding a bit like angry just comparing this to Humanz constantly. So I'm gonna just move on to the tracks that I loved. Idaho sounds like a folk song that's kind of drifting in and out of the clouds. Another good one, 1%, has this almost fog layer of like this trancey type sound that covers the entire song, but towards the later half, this synth melody kind of reveals itself and brings the song up and lifts it. It was one of those songs that I kind of wish was spent with a few more minutes. I think it's only a 2-minute song, but it ended up being one of my favorites, even though it's probably one of the slower tracks on this album. And then there's Magic City, which is probably going to be the breakout song from this album. I love the pre-chorus or the post-chorus on this song, where there's this cascading synth, and then you have Albarn coming in with just singing Magic City over and over, like Magic City. I loved it. I dig it. I'd listen to that song over and over just to get to that part. The rest of the song is, you know, this great beach-sounding song about Miami and the dreariness there, but that pre or post-chorus is fantastic. Listen to the song just for that. And then the album ends with Soak Eyes, which is another patient beach jam that sort of evolves into a much more dance and uplifting tune. And, you know, this just kind of is another display of Damon Albarn's ability to take his dreary voice and put it on top of any sort of dance beat, and it's just perfect music contrast. That formula is why Gorillaz has worked for as long as it has, and it's why this album ends so great. And albums don't often end this great. So yeah, overall, this album is a grower. I don't think this was something that I thought I loved on the first listen, and even the hype up for this album made it sound like this great summer beach album where you're gonna just be sitting at a pool party, it's gonna be great. That's not where you should be listening to this album. I think that a lot of albums click in different environments, and this is not the environment to listen to. That is on the beach. The best place I think to do it would be on like a long summer drive, something like a road trip, or something like just a long drive at night. You know, something a much more quieter space than a party space, like I thought this album might have been from the first single. I really have just kind of grown to love this over the last week or so. Enough that I bought it for myself. I was pretty bent on not buying this album after Humanz and spending so much money on that deluxe package, but I really like this album, and it might be one of my favorite Gorillaz albums to date. So yeah, let me know what you think. Did this album grow on you? Do you like this new stripped introspective sound? Do you want more of it like me? Do you hate Sex Murder Party? Do you think that's just the worst Gorillaz song ever written? I do. I really do. But let me know what you think. I'd love to read it, hear it, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's it.